The Sound.
The sound of Essex. And all the music you love. BBC. BBC Essex.
Now, we're going to talk about Brightlingsea next. Are there any annoying smells where you live? Because in Brightlingsea, this has become quite an issue. Some people there are still smelling this really unpleasant stench. Now, it's called the Brightlingsea smell now. It's been going on for more than a year. The exact cause of it is still unknown, which is it's a bit of a mystery, but that's no help to the people that are having to put up with it every day. Tendring District Council say it's investigating the cause and working with Anglian Water and the Environment Agency. But again, if you're dealing with it, then the fact that someone else is researching it is not really helping when you're smelling that day in, day out. If you live in or around Brightlingsea, if you go past us on your way to work, if this is something that you've experienced, tell me what it's like. I know it's quite difficult, isn't it, to explain what a smell smells like and to kind of get the impact over. So help us out if you can kind of explain a little bit what it's like and whether it's been getting you down, whether it's been frustrating you. Or, if you live in somewhere else in Essex with a similar issue, let me know. 0800 111 40 41. And we talk a lot about light pollution, noise pollution, nasal pollution, I guess, is the same kind of thing, but quite difficult to pinpoint and to explain. To start us off, I've been speaking to local resident Matt Court, and I started by asking him what this smell was like.
It does vary, and I think that's part of the problem as to why people can't find out exactly where it's from. Sometimes I cycle past it twice a day, going to and from work, and sometimes it's not always there, but when it is there, sometimes it's a very chemically smell, which smells a bit like kind of plasticky. At other times it smells really quite like sewage is the only way to explain kind of what it smells like. And it really does get into your nose, and it does not feel good to be breathing it in. That's the main concern for me is the health aspect. Because we literally do not know what this smell is and where it's coming from. And it's amazing that no one's been able to put their finger, when I say no one, I mean the authorities, they can't even work out what it is, let alone where it's coming from. And then we're so far away from getting it fixed, it seems.
For people who are thinking, oh, well, it can't be that bad, it's really quite the stench, isn't it?
Oh, it's awful, because you've got, the stench is the right word to use to kind of describe it. But there's people that live on the roads around there, and when it's hot, they can't sleep at night because they can't open their windows to keep the room cool because the smell comes in and it's just not a nice place to kind of sleep. But then equally, they can't close their windows because it gets too hot in the house. So they're kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place just because of this smell, which surely is unavoidable. It's amazing that we're a year into this and we've made very little progress.
Have you done some sort of detective work yourself? Do you have any suspicions what it might be?
No. I mean, there's a lot of rumours going around town in terms of where it could be coming from, but there is no evidence that I've seen to suggest it comes from a particular place. There is a waste treatment plant there, or a waste transfer plant, but there's also drains around there. There is also a bottle bank. I mean, I'm no expert on this, and the thing that I'm kind of getting a little bit upset about is, as taxpayers, we do pay for experts to look after us on this kind of stuff. It shouldn't be down to individuals to go and do detective work. We should be simply saying, look, there's a problem here. We pay our taxes. So Tendring District Council has an environmental services team. The Environment Agency looks after kind of businesses of that nature. We've got a problem here. Please go and find out what it is and work out how you can stop it from happening, because it shouldn't be down to us kind of lay people, us normal people, to do this.
Of course, and as you say, it's affecting a lot of people. This is not just you and your family, it's everyone in that area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've got a daughter about to start school in the senior school that's next door to it. And from a purely selfish perspective, as I said, I go past it for a minute or so each day, twice a day. But she's going to have to go and play in that playground or play on that field, which, that is where the stench is. And I look at that as a parent, and it really does concern me and scare me.
And it seems madness that it is so difficult to, if not fix, but locate. You'd think that, if people are used to this kind of work, that it wouldn't be too big a job.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that it's not there all the time. So if it was there constantly, then you could just send someone up there any time of the day, and then they'd be able to just say, right, well, that's where it's coming from. We can do these calculations and look at the wind and stuff, and everything's kind of sorted. The problem we've got is it's not there all the time, so it comes and goes. And as much as we, as residents and people that live nearby, experience it, really all we can do is we can't record a smell, if that makes any sense. You can't take photos of a smell. With this, we're saying, well, the Environment Agency's advice, phone us and tell us how strong it is out of a scale of 1 to 6, and what time it was, and that's kind of all we can do. What it needs is more monitoring. As much as the Environment Agency has said in their updates that this is the most monitored site in Essex or something like that, it obviously needs more monitoring.
Well, of course, we're going to stay across this and see what the council say. You have some hope that they're starting to take this more seriously, though?
Yes. I think if we'd spoke maybe a couple of weeks ago, I'd be more pessimistic. I am a bit more optimistic now because it does seem that certainly the Environmental Services team at Tendring District Council, from the last update that I saw, I'm pretty sure I saw on there that they actually experienced the smell or a smell. So now they've recognised that there's an actual problem. I'm pretty sure that was the only other time that either Tendring or the Environment Services experienced the smell. It was put down to a gas leak which was nearby, and this was, I don't know, this time last year. And I think there was gas works going on about half a mile away. Now, we didn't believe it was from the gas works, but maybe it's a coincidence. This time, it's been acknowledged to say, okay, there is a smell, and we're going to work out kind of how we're going to do it, and who we're going to involve to kind of get this identified and basically sorted.
That was Matt Court talking to me a little earlier. He wasn't alone actually in getting in touch with us at BBC Essex. We have heard from a few residents saying that this is really starting to affect them. And Matt there, just really concerned about his little girl going to school, being around this smell and what she's breathing in. We don't know what this is yet. Let me know if you've been affected by this, if this is something that you've experienced, something you're worrying about or just drives you mad. Maybe you can't have your windows open in the summer because it comes in. 0800 111 40 41. We are going to speak to Tendring District Council. I should say that Anglian Water have also sent us a statement. They say, we are aware of odour and have investigated our water recycling centre. We know that there is no issue there. We will continue to investigate and will update when we know more. However, we are not clear it is generated from our network. So Anglian Water saying sort of that they're doing their bit, but they can't see anything that they're responsible for. As I say, we're going to get Tendring Council to talk to us as well in just a moment. But Matt, who we just spoke to earlier, is a dad. He's worried about his little girl going to school in the area where this smell often sort of presents itself, and he doesn't know what she's breathing in, and he called us to say that he was concerned about that, which is why we're looking into it. It's been going on for over a year or so. So if this is something that you've encountered, let me know. 0800 111 40 41. Let's try and find out a bit about what's being done to tackle this smell. Councillor Mike Bush is Tendring District Council's Cabinet Member for the Environment, and he's come on the show this morning. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, good morning, Emma.
Morning. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, maybe you could start with a little bit of an update on where you are, trying to work out what's going on here.
Yeah, first and foremost, I share frustrations and concerns for the residents there. It's a situation with sporadic. It's very hard to put your finger on exactly when and where it's coming from. But we are fully engaged. Our environmental protection team are monitoring the site. We've engaged with Anglian Water. We've engaged with Environmental Agency. We've visited the recycling site adjacent. There have been tests monitoring the gas. And unfortunately, we just still cannot put a finger on where the situation's emanating from. I mean, that's where it's at. So we are still so committed to protect and be responsible for our residents. And we will continue to monitor this with the agencies in the next few weeks to see if we can get some more data and analyse exactly where the situation here is. But the problem is, because it's not consistent, I think as your caller said, and I share all his sentiments, because it's sporadic, it's very difficult to actually identify where it is. And the same with the smells. The smells don't vary in various people's comments, from possible plastic to sewage and drains. So we're looking at all of those aspects, and we're pouring a lot of resource and time because we want to try to get to the bottom of it to find some sort of resolution or a way forward.
Have you smelt it yourself, Mike?
No, I've not been in Brightlingsea as of yet. No, I haven't.
It's because, as you say, when it's sporadic, it's so difficult to kind of put your finger on it and work out where it is. There are some theories locally about where it is. I'm not asking you to go into that, but it sounds like you're looking at lots of different sources, potential sources.
Yeah, well, what we've done, with Anglian Water specifically, we've asked them to look at their pumping stations, and they've reported back it's working efficiently, and there's no logs that have shown any exceedances of any odour. The environmental protection team have been discussing the issue with the environmental agency, and again, they say there's no evidence to suggest the odours are emanating from that site, the recycling site adjacent. So again, I mean, it's very difficult to try to get some solid data to understand what's causing it and where it's actually coming from. But having said that, to try to reassure the residents of Brightlingsea, we are continuing monitoring this and putting further resource and time to see if we can get some sort of conclusion or a way forward, as I said earlier.
I mean, what does that look like? Because it's, as you say, it's a very difficult job. How do you do the next step? You've sort of gone about the usual process at the beginning, going to the places you think it might be coming from and not found anything. So what do you do next?
Well, continually monitor. They've got gas monitoring logs to see what type of odours are coming or being produced. So from that alone, we might be able to identify exactly a source. But as I say, all parties, all agencies are now fully engaged. A lot of commitment here to try to get a closure on it for the residents of Brightlingsea.
Yeah, because I mean, we've heard at BBC Essex from residents, some saying that they feel their health is being affected, others worrying that their health might be affected, and that's a worrying situation.
Well, it's very worrying. It is very worrying. But all we're guided by is the environmental agency that actually monitor those conditions. If there was something I would have thought, if there was anything of any serious content that was either toxic or had affected health, they would have certainly put some sort of notice. And obviously that hasn't happened. But so we're continually engaged. I'm confident now our environmental team, they're working on this on a daily basis to actually get feedback. And all I can say is that as soon as we get updates and if we get further forward, is that I will be reporting that back. And I'm asking for those reports being fed into me as soon as we know any more information from the monitoring.
I mean, would it help if local people sort of gave you hints of when it's becoming worse, or help with the monitoring? I think people are feeling quite desperate to get this sorted.
Well, I think absolutely. I think they've got the contact numbers for the environmental team. As soon as they get those sort of odour smells, to actually report that in, and then we can go and look at that time. But I honestly don't even know the windows of time which these events are happening. Whether it's during the night, during the day, part during the day, we're getting all sorts of information feedback. We just need, if we can pinpoint a period of time when we know that's happening. It's been a very dry spell. That hasn't helped, I guess, to some extent. It seems to be a seasonal thing. It happened last summer. We talked about it was gas issues from the mains, but that was sort of like eliminated. All I can say to you, Emma, is that we are on it, and we will continue to be on it to try to get a resolution for the residents of Brightlingsea.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I mean, I suppose with the summer coming, it's not good news if you're anticipating the smell, but perhaps it might make it easier for you to find out where it's coming from. Who knows?
Who knows? Yes, but as I say, we've got a team there that's working with all those agencies, the statutory agencies. We're responsible to deal with the obviously the pollution that is the Environment Protection Team's responsibility, and then we just link with those particular agencies that have statutory responsibility into to look at the sources.
Oh, well, you certainly sound committed to getting it sorted, Mike, because I'm sure you've got lots of other issues you want to be dealing with as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry to admit, I feel for the residents. I absolutely feel. I've experienced that in my past in certain areas where I lived. And again, a lot of it was to do with drainage and sewerage issues in dry spells. I'm not saying this is the case, but I'd like to know the evidence and the data. Once we've collected that, I'll be more happy. At the moment, I'm not 100% happy because the residents still suffer with this problem. And I'm behind them to see what I can do to sort of alleviate and get some resolution, Emma.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mike. Councillor Mike Bush there, Tendring District Council's Cabinet Member for the Environment, saying he wants to get this sorted. And they're trying. They're trying lots of different methods. What else can they do? If you live in that area and it's affecting you and you'd like to talk about it this morning, 0800 111 40 41. Let me know how it's affected you. Ben is on the line in Brightlingsea. Hi, Ben.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good. So tell me about your experience of this smell then, Ben.
Yeah, we live slightly further away, so we don't get it as much. But yeah, it's either a very chemically smell or it's like putrid rubbish. It doesn't change that much between the two. But yeah, it's not a nice smell. Once it gets in the house, you can't get it out. But it's not as bad here as closer, but then I have kids in the Cone school. So that's a huge worry for me, as Matt said as well.
Just worrying about what it might be, because that's the thing, they still don't really know what it is.
I find that hard to believe.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't going to ring up, but I'm ringing up because, you've had Mike on before and he says, he feels for us and he's here for the residents, but he's never come down here and checked, and it's his job. That to me is very, very strange. If I was in Mike's Bush position, I would come down and speak to the people. He also says that he's not aware of the time it happens. But there is so many people ringing up about this, all at the same times, all quoting the same things, all quoting the same place. And yet he doesn't think he has enough information. That, to me, that's very strange. But okay.
Yeah, I mean, he did say that he hadn't smelt it, which you might think is a bit odd if this is the issue that he's dealing with day in, day out. He says
how can Mike Bush smell it if he hasn't been down here?
Well, that's quite.
He's not going to smell it from where he lives.
So Ben, I mean, you're laughing because what else can you do but laugh? But this must be extremely frustrating.
I'm laughing because it is so comical. It's been going on last year. There was everyone was told to complain to the council, and then the council handed it over to the environmental agency. They said it was a gas leak, which was from the opposite side of town. So that made no sense. The gas people said, no, that isn't us at all. It didn't smell like a gas leak. You know what a gas leak smells like. And then it was just nothing to do with us. So, yeah, cold weather set in. The smell goes away. Summer's come around again. It's come back. And it's come back from the exact same place. Strangely enough, very early in the morning as well, we get it as well. 2:00, when that the recycling centre that we cannot be sure if it's them or not is doing work there. I mean, surely to rule them out, the very easiest thing to do would be get a full itinerary of what they're going on there and the times they're doing it, and then match it up with the reports they're getting.
Well, yeah, we don't have them on to defend themselves, but as you said, we don't know where it's coming from. But I think what is interesting about what you're saying is the fact that you're saying it's very consistent. What we've been hearing so far is that, it's here and there, so it's a big mystery. It's very difficult to get to the bottom of it. But you're saying actually there is a clear pattern in when this is happening.
Certain times of the day, yeah, it's midday when most people are out, and then it's very, very late at night usually.
Okay.
So it stops people from smelling. I'm not making any accusations, but I think to rule themselves out, it'll be a very easy way of doing it. Just have a look at all the logs of their works, match that in with the reports. We have loads of reports. Job done. We can move on to somebody else. We can move on and find out what the cause is. Not saying they are the cause.
Yeah.
But
okay.
All the reports are coming from around that area.
And you're a long-term resident, aren't you, Ben, of Brightlingsea? Has it changed how you feel about where you live?
Oh no, I still love Brightlingsea. It's a wonderful place to live. wouldn't want to live anywhere else. It's just a shame that in the last 2 years, strangely enough, when Dunmo had new people take over, this smell has started. So it is a shame. I mean, we've got a large shop there, grocery shop there. Lots of people have stopped visiting that because the smell's so bad there. I'm sure, they could be able to log the time. It seems very strange that very little is done from this, with the amount of reports that are going into the Environmental Agency.
Okay, good to get your perspective, Ben, because Mike was very adamant that he was doing everything he could, and you're saying, well, perhaps not.
If he's doing everything he could, why has he not got in his car and drove down here? It's his whole job, and he's not spoken to a single person down here, come here and actually visited anybody?
Okay, we'll leave it there, Ben.
That's not doing everything you can, surely. He could make a day of it. He could visit the beach.
It's a beautiful place. It is a beautiful place, Ben.
It's a beautiful place. He can make a day of it. Come down, speak to the people he's meant to be serving, actually, get an idea of what's going on. It'd be wonderful.
Ben, thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate it this morning. Ben from Brightlingsea there saying that actually not enough is being done and that there are things that he could point to straight away that he would do. Do you live in Brightlingsea? Let's speak to Jane in Brightlingsea. Hi, Jane.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah. We haven't spoken before, so thank you so much for calling up. You have experienced this smell, haven't you?
I have, and I'm one of those trying to get to the bottom of it because I live about 250 metres from the waste transfer site, which is where it seems to be coming from. We don't know the exact nature of the problem, but I've lived there about 5 years and it's been bad for the last year and a half. The site has changed hands, but there are two distinct smells, and I think this is one of the confusions. There's a smell that is like hydrogen sulfide, and then there's a smell of extreme putrefaction, like rotting garbage, really, really vile. It's not farmyard smell, it's not like you get muck spreading, that sort of smell. It's completely different. And it was really bad last summer, and it's getting bad again now. And last summer there was an overpowering smell of hydrogen sulfide, and the people who run the site, Dunmo's, blamed it on the gasworks, but later they did admit to Brightlingsea Council that they'd accidentally mixed chemicals used for some of their processes, and they stopped doing that for a couple of days, but the smell hasn't gone away. It
does seem to be, though. I mean, when we had Mike Bush on, the councillor, he said that they've looked into a lot of the places people have suggested, that there's been investigations. It seems weirdly complicated to get to the bottom of this.
Well, it is, because there's also a biomass burner on the site that is running all the time. I asked if they were putting all their dead rats on it in the middle of the night, because the smell actually wakes people up at night. And I've interviewed people, because I was so concerned about it. I've got neighbours who are saying that it's making them ill. And I've interviewed people about their experiences. I've reported it myself. And people are saying they're getting headaches and nausea and breathing problems. And some of the local residents who live very close by, they've got things like chest problems, COPD, and some of them are having to go onto steroids and things. And I've suggested that they go and see their doctors about it. But it is a real cause for concern. It's not just, a few people complaining. When there's a bout of it, lots of people are phoning up. And 2:00 in the morning sometimes.
And I mean, the weather we've been having recently, lots of people sleep with their windows open. But have you had to sort of batten down the hatches because you don't want it in your house?
Oh, yeah, I can't go in the garden sometimes. But the other thing is, if I walk around the perimeter of the site, I can smell the putrefaction smell. That's quite strong at certain times. And it's not just in hot weather. It does depend on wind direction sometimes. And that's also confusing. There's a field where people walk their dogs around the back, and they know when it happens. And I really don't know whether it's something that's coming into the site. Like they're doing a lot of liquid loads now, maybe transferring those liquid loads. I think what Ben said about correlating complaints with the timing of activities might be a way of finding out if that's what's causing it.
Well,
I've no idea. We just need to know.
Ben, who you mentioned was a caller, in case people weren't listening earlier, who called in and said that he wasn't happy with the response from the council. I'd just like to say that Councillor Mike Bush, who we had on earlier, did actually call us back in response to that call, and he said he's more than happy to go to Brightlingsea and talk to residents in person about the situation. He said he's only been in the job a month, and they've just had local elections, and he's really keen to get this sorted. He's ready to visit. He's ready to engage with the residents. So I think it's fair to put that forward. Since he's had a bit of flack. I mean,
in fairness to him, it's really good that somebody's taking that degree of interest, and I really hope that he does that, because people can tell him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to tell because he's just come into the job, but he did specifically call us back to say he really wants to come down and engage with people. Does that give you any hope?
Well, it gives me a lot of hope that people are actually on the case now, because it was as if we were making it up before. We're not. You see, some people also go nose blind. That's the other thing, especially with hydrogen sulfide smells. It's a known fact that happens. Doesn't stop it being harmful. So we want to make sure that it's safe. It's very close to the co-op, and if you go to the co-op car park, there's a lot of days when you just can't get out of your car. I mean, I went there the other day and it made me gag. I had to leave.
It's no way to live, is it? I mean, as I was saying to Ben earlier, it's a nice place. You want to be proud of where you live.
It's a beautiful town. It's wonderful. And we should have fresh air. And there's no reason why that has to, any sort of smells need to affect us, because that could be done elsewhere, I'm sure. Jane, it doesn't have to be right next to people.
Yeah, I really appreciate your call. And as you say, I mean, fresh air seems a very modest request, doesn't it? Jane, thank you so much for calling. We will stay across this story. And if this is affecting you and there's something you'd like to add to this, please call me 0800 111 40 41. 11:15 on BBC Essex.